Hey everybody, welcome back, and let's look at something else that Paul tells us to dwell on. Good things to dwell on in these days where there are a lot of negative things to dwell on. Let's think about good things. Continuing at our look at Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8, let's read the text. Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute, if there is any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things. Today we'll talk about Paul's admonition to us to dwell on and to think about whatever is lovely. Everyone, I'll be honest, lovely is not a word that I tend to use. Kendall uses it sometimes referring to me, but generally only sarcastically. For instance, she'll come into the bathroom that she's just cleaned to find that my whiskers are all over the sink and all over the counter for me coming in and shaving. And she'll walk in and see that big mess in her clean bathroom, and she'll say something along the lines of, "Well, isn't that lovely?" I then just have to remind her that beauty comes at a cost. And also remind her what a lucky lady she is to have me. Now, I won't let you in on what she responds when I say that. I'll just let you use your own imagination. But seriously, what does Paul mean when he tells us to spend time dwelling upon whatever is lovely? Well, in the original Greek, the word that he uses is and I'm sorry, I struggle with the pronunciation of these, prosphiles. And words like this are particularly tricky to interpret and to translate into English. Why is that? Well, this one is particularly hard to translate from the Greek to the English because it's the only time you will find this word in the entire Bible. There's no other examples we can look at in the New Testament of other times this word was used in the context. So we just basically have to examine the word itself and figure out what could Paul have been talking about when he said the word that we translate into lovely. Well, this word that he uses, prosphiles, is a compound word, meaning it's made up of two words that Paul puts together. And what the first part of the word is pros, and pros simply means in regards to. So the second part of the word is phileo. So he combines the word pros and phileo. He puts those together, and phileo means brotherly love, like the city of Philadelphia is why the city of Philadelphia, if it was translated from the Greek to the English, it would be the city of brotherly love, which of course is what we call Philadelphia. So let's break it down. Paul uses the word in regards to and brotherly love. He combines them. So he says, think on, dwell on things that are in regard to brotherly love. So when I dwell upon whatever is in regards to brotherly love, sure, I think of Jesus, whose brother I became through adoption when I became a Christian. But I also think of my brothers and sisters in Christ that I share a very special bond with as well. Jesus spoke of this bond between his followers in Matthew chapter 12, verse 46 through 50. He says this, "While he was still speaking to the crowds, behold, his mother and brothers were standing outside, seeking to speak to him. Someone said to him, 'Behold, your mother and brothers are standing outside, seeking to speak to you.' But Jesus answered the one who was telling him and said, 'Who is my mother and who are my brothers?' And stretching out his hand toward his disciples, he said, 'Behold, my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father who is in heaven, he is my brother and sister and mother.'" Some people hold their bloodline, their own family by blood relation, with a much greater esteem and regard than they do all other people. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing, but what I want to explain is that God doesn't see things like that. And Jesus didn't see blood relation like that either. Jesus explained to the people then, look, it doesn't matter who's at the door asking for me, those that you are calling my family. My true family, the way I see and the way God sees it, are those who do the will of my Father in heaven. Now, I don't know about you, but I like, especially when I'm taking communion on Sunday mornings, to think about my brothers and sisters in Christ, who I regard as my true family. That's not saying anything against my other family members I have by blood relation, but I want to look at my family the same way that Jesus looks at it. So I think about my brothers and sisters in Christ. I like to think about them during communion, my brothers and sisters particularly that are in countries all over the world that are also taking communion and remembering the body of Jesus and the blood that he shed on the cross. Now, when I think of Jesus' blood that he shed for me on the cross, I not only remember his suffering and the shedding of his blood to forgive me of my sins, but I also think about what that bloodshed accomplished. It united all followers into one gigantic family. It's this thought and more that I'm sure that Paul had in mind when he said, whatever is lovely, whatever is in regards to brotherly love, dwell on these things. Until next time, love God and love others. I'm Wes LaFleur signing off.